Well, there has been a sigh of relief that the budget did not include a VAT hike. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has announced an inflation-linked increase to the general fuel levy, the first increase in 3 years. From the 4th of June, the fuel levy will go up by 16 cents per litre, that's for petrol, and 16 cents per litre for diesel. For more on this increase, let's speak to SANTACO's Western Cape spokesperson, Mandla Hermanus, who joins us now then. Mandla, thank you so much for the time. How badly does this actually hurt the taxi industry?
Thank you for having me. This obviously is going to hit our bottom line because it will affect our overall profitability as the minibus taxi industry, given that we still remain unsubsidized. So, which means we subsidize our customers when we look at how we adjust our fares. But this increase, as much as it's going to hit us, we are not anticipating that there will be price increases as a result of the adjustment in the fuel price due to the levy. Because ordinarily, we do not relook our prices every time there's a fuel adjustment. Most of the times we adjust our prices on an annual basis where we look at all the various factors, how much it's costing us to run our business. So this one is not going to affect the fares that our customers will be paying going forward.
But that's a temporary measure, as you make note of, right? Because you do re-look at your pricing on an annual basis, and that may change in future, which would take this into account. So prices could rise in future for those who obviously get onto taxis.
Yes, absolutely. There might be an adjustment because even the annual adjustments, we don't do them almost every year. There are years where if there hasn't been much increase in the price of fuel, then that year we might skip the adjustment. But we will monitor now to see if after June, if there are any further increases in the price, that might be due to fluctuations in the dollar exchange and the cost of diesel overseas. That will have an impact. But for now, we don't foresee that we will adjust our prices, but we will make that determination around October, November, depending on whether there has been any further increases in the fuel price.
All right. Talk to us about the trickle-down effect, though, on taxi owners, on drivers as well. I know you said as an industry it affects the bottom line, but what does that do for taxi drivers themselves in terms of how much they earn, as well as the taxi owners?
In a way, the effect is that we end up subsidizing our customers because we are limited to how much we can actually increase our fares to remain competitive, especially when we compete with modes that are subsidized and we are not. So we always have to keep our prices affordable. So the effect is that it reduces how much the drivers are able to earn and how much the operators are able to make. And it affects the affordability of the vehicles that we purchase because the interest rates go up, so we end up with less cash, and sometimes some operators end up losing their vehicles because now they are no longer able to afford the monthly installment because we cannot really adjust our prices to compensate for the fuel increases so that we are able to afford to pay for these vehicles. So we subsidize the public, and the effect is that sometimes some of our operators end up going out of business as a result.
Yeah, does this also see an increase like this that eventually leads to an increase in pricing, as you said, which may be October, November or so then? Does that usually then result in a decrease in the number of passengers, or is it just the number of complaints and the number of trips that then have to increase?
The number of passengers doesn't really decrease because we kind of do have a captured market where there are people who rely on taxis because they are more reliable than your rail and they are more accessible than your buses, especially in our townships. So what happens is that whilst you still make the same amount of money that you would make, but you are spending more on fuel because you are not able to adjust so that there's a direct correlation between what you earn before the fuel increase and what you take home after the fuel increase. So that's why I'm saying we end up subsidizing our customers, because when we do adjust these prices, the adjustments are always minimal because we want to remain competitive and we don't want to price ourselves out of the market, as it were.
All right. Well, Mandla, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for clearing that up. Then I think a very pertinent and important one here, because the question marks around this fuel levy and its impact on everyday South Africans is going to be very important. So appreciate your time this morning. SANTACO's Western Cape spokesperson, Mandla Hermanus.